Okay, so I figured I'd do a little impromptu video. I got this yesterday. As a toy collector, I buy a lot of shit, and I don't consider a lot of it holy grails or grails. This to me is a holy grail. It's the Eborsisk, or Eborsisk, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, from Willow. I believe Willow's one of those movies that really stood the test of time. I feel a lot of like action, sci-fi, fantasy movies that come out today. Some of them are cool. You see them in the movies, blah, blah, blah. You pretty much forget about them a month or two after. Nobody talks about them. No one cares about them. Willow came out in 1988, and there's still a pretty passionate following for it. I can watch Willow any day of the week. I watch it every few years. It's just one of those movies that I don't know. Maybe I'm just nostalgic for that period of time, but I feel those movies stand the test of time so much more today. Maybe because there was so much more thought or creativity put into them. Not as much. I don't know. CGI just kind of muddies the waters for me a lot. This creature, two-headed dragon, evil Eborsisk, was all stop motion. As a kid, it looked fucking awesome. As an adult, it still looks pretty cool. So this isn't really a review about Willow. It's more a review about the actual toy. I don't know the exact story on this specific piece, but I'll put it this way. It looks like it was not played with at all. It has little furry patches on the back, which on a lot of them, as you can imagine, as a kid, growing up in the 80s, this would have ended up in the mud. This would have been played with. Most of the used ones don't have this fur anymore. This one has all the fur. The paint is immaculate. Now, beyond it just being a cool, nostalgic piece, I think it looks really good for its age. This came out in 1988. Now, if you know about toys these days, if you're into collecting, you know a lot of companies are putting out new figures of old movies that just look amazing, like the Ninja Turtle figures. Just in case you don't know what I'm talking about, these are the 1990 Ninja Turtle figures. Now, these look awesome. These don't look like figures from 1990. They look like new figures based off a 1990 property. My point being is that this doesn't really look like an 80s toy to me. It looks like, I feel like if a new company put this out, it wouldn't look much better than this, and possibly worse. This figure really, or toy really, stands the test of time. And the other weird part about it is the other figures from this line kind of suck. They have their cool carding and all, but they're little tiny die-cast figures that just are awful. And let me show you those in case you don't know what I'm talking about. These are them. I have a bunch of carded ones because I got them pretty cheap. This one has Willow and the baby, which is pretty cool. They're just little tiny die-cast things. They're okay, but as an action figure, leave a lot to be desired. So why would Tonka, who made these, make such crappy toys and then make this, which is freaking awesome? Unfortunately, you have not much to play with it. So I just figured I'd do a quick little video. I'm pretty pumped about getting this guy. I'm going to compare him in size to the Dino Riders Brontosaurus. He's much smaller, as you can see. This is the Brontosaurus from the Dino Riders line. I'm not a big fan of the fact that this was called the Brontosaurus. Brontosaurus now is a scientifically accurate name, but Brontosaurus for our sauropod wasn't huge. It was like a medium-sized sauropod, and this is like the biggest figure in a Dino Riders line. It should be like the Diplodocus or something like that, a bigger sauropod. That's just my off-topic rant. So that's pretty much it. This is the box in case anyone's interested. They made some vehicles. I was never a vehicle kid. I never really would have cared about these. And that's it. 1980, Lucasfilm. Lucas was on quite a roll after Star Wars. Howard the Duck is my favorite movie, as most of you know who actually know me. And so he was involved in that, and then he was involved in Willow. So two of my favorite movies that I was into way before I was into Star Wars, Willow and Howard the Duck. Thank you, George Lucas. Thank you, Tonka, for making this guy.